In this video, I'm going to walk through a very easy technique that I use to sell fine art prints on sites like Redbubble, TeePublic, Displayed especially. This is a very easy technique and it's completely free. So let's jump in. So step one is that you want to go to a free website that offers you free photos. So I'm on Pixabay here to start. I've typed in the word model. And I'm just going to scroll down here and I'm going to find a picture that I'm going to use for my base image. I'm going to pick this guy here, shirtless hunky guy. This is Lonely Man Sitting. And I'm going to do my free download here. It's completely free to use and no attribution is required. I'm going to click free download and I'll pick the largest file size and I'll click download. Another website you can use is Pexels. I'm going to type in the word model here and you can go over to the right hand side under filters and you can do all orientations, change it to horizontal or vertical. So for example, if you wanted to do a landscape, you could do that. And then here I am on Unsplash. That's the third one that I like. I've typed in the word model. And then again, you can go up here to the top right and you can click on orientation and you can make it landscape or portrait. Again, it's totally personal preference. All right, now step two is to go to Inkscape. Inkscape is a completely free vector tool. Here's the website. I'll put the link in the video description as well. I've popped open Inkscape here and I'm going to go now to file open and I'm just going to open up my image. Okay, so depending on the file size when you open it, it could be really big. That's fine. If you need to scroll in or out, just hold down the control key and then the mouse wheel and you can scroll in or you can scroll out. I'm going to click on my image now and I'm going to go up to path and trace bitmap. Now the reason I'm doing this is I want to create basically a black and white image. So over on the right hand side you're going to see a threshold button. If you move the threshold all the way to the right where it's 1, if I click update preview, it's going to be all black. If I go all the way to the left where it's 0, I click update preview, it's all white. So I would recommend you start somewhere kind of in the 50% range, click update preview, and you'll see something hopefully that looks decent and you can make out what the image is. I'm going to click apply, I'm happy with that. I did want to point out you don't actually have to use the largest file size when you download because you're in Inkscape and you're going to create a vector. You could actually use the smallest file size when you're downloading. So I'm going to click apply. It's relatively quick because it's such a small file size, and I'm going to zoom out now. And I'm going to move that vector now over off to the side. Again, you can play around with the threshold if you'd like it lighter or darker. So I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. Now if you want to edit it in Inkscape, you simply go up here to the top left and you click on Edit Paths by Node. You'll see all the nodes now are going to pop up. And if I wanted to delete any of them out, I'm just going to zoom in a tiny bit here. You can just drag your mouse, create a box, highlight them, and then just click the delete key. And that'll just simply remove those nodes. Now you want to be careful not to do that if it's part of a larger box here. Like if, for example, if I were to do this and I were to delete, it would kind of make it look kind of strange. So I'm not going to do that. Now I'm not using the cutting points. These are all these little nodes. I'm not using them for anything. I'm just creating the vector so that it's a uniform black and white silhouette type image. Over on the right hand side, I'm going to click the export button and I've got my path picked down at the bottom. Now when you're doing your export features, you want to make sure you have the selection selected because that is what you've got selected over here. And then you can make it larger or smaller by just simply dragging this out. Now if you drag it, you can stretch it, which you don't want to do. So you want to hold down the control key, that locks in the aspect ratio, and then you can make it larger or smaller depending on how big you want to make the image. Over here on the right as well, I've got DPI, which is dots print. I'm going to change that to 300, and I'm now up into about the 2500 range. A common question I get is how big do you want to make the image? I try to shoot for at least 5,000 pixels per side. Now this is personal preference because I'm on Displate quite a bit. I like a very large image because I don't want it to be rejected by the Displate bot. So I'm going to have 5,000 on one side, 6,000 on the other, 300 DPI, and I'll click export. Okay, now if you have Photoshop or Affinity Photo, great, you can use that in this next step. But if you want to use a free option, I'm on photopea.com and I'm going to go to File and New. From here, I'm going to select a project and my width, I'm going to select it as a displate size. So I'm going to go 4060 and the height is going to be 2900 and my DPI will be 300 and my background will be transparent. And then I'll click create. Okay, so next up I'm going to place my image. I'm going to go to File and I'm going to go to Open and Place. Okay, and there's my image now. I can make it smaller or bigger. It automatically locks in the aspect ratio, which is nice. I'm going to move them right like this and I'm going to leave some white space here on the side. Okay, so I've got my image placed now. I'm going to go over here to the right hand side. I'm going to click new layer, and I'm going to put the new layer underneath. So now I'm going to put something in that layer. So the first thing you can do with this layer that's underneath is you can put a color on it. And so it's pretty easy to do. Over on the left hand side, you're going to see either a paint bucket tool right there or a gradient tool. If you see one, just hold it down with the mouse key and you'll just change it to the other. So I'm under paint bucket tool now, and you'll see a little palette down here at the very bottom. So I'm going to pick my palette color. I'll make it like, say, a dark red. I'll click OK, and then I'll just simply click in the layer, and we'll see that the entire layer now changes. So I've done that before, and I've just sold that. It's just a two-tone duo print. It's basically, the appeal of it is that it's only two colors. There's no gray, there's no gradient to it. That's an option. You can just simply select the color, and you can just change it as well. You can click that, click inside it, and it'll simply change it. So you can make a nice pastiche of different colored prints if you like. They're very easy to do. If you want to make something a bit more layered, what I'm going to do next is go back to Pixabay, and inside of Pixabay, I'm going to type in astronomy, and I'm going to find something that is like a starry sky. So I'm going to pick this one here, this Orion Nebula, and I'm going to click free download. I'm going to take a big picture here, the biggest JPEG, and I'll click download. Okay, so what I'm going to do now back in photopea is I'm going to add in a new layer, and in this case I'm going to add in a picture. So I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go to Open in Place, and in this case now I've got the Orion picture. So I'm going to simply move it up to the top left, scroll it down and make it big, and now I can move it around as much or as little as I want. I can shrink it, I can make it fit as much as I would like. Now I can also go to zoom, zoom out, and then you can change the way it looks by simply moving and dragging it around. Because it's an online photo editor, if you're using really large photos, there may be a bit of drag, but if you're patient, it'll work out pretty good. I've created an image that I have sold these as fine art prints before, so they're a good seller. And if you want to save this image, it's pretty easy to do. Just go over here to the left hand side, File, and then you're going to go to Export As, and then you've got all these options here. So I would recommend that you export it as a JPEG because it's the most robust for a fine art print, but you could also do a PNG as well. There's not much point to a PNG because there's no transparent background. So I'm going to do JPEG, and then from here it's going to ask me about the width and the height, the quality. I'm going to make the quality 100%, and I'm going to click Save, and then it's going to ask me where to save it. I'm simply going to click OK, and it'll save the file. And just like that, I've got a fine art print that's suitable for framing or selling as a digital download on sites like Etsy or Creative Fabrica. It's a great little technique, and I've used it to make hundreds of sales, and I hope you do too. Here's another video on how you can supercharge your graphic design skills. Thanks a lot for watching.